very, very glad that God did. Lord, I want to be a Christian in my verses 17 and 18. Once again, 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 17 and 18. I'll read verse number 17 solo and ask you to join in with me with the reading of verse number 18.
Right.
For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect. For the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of God. God bless you. You may be seated. May the Lord add a blessing to those who are the readers and most certainly the hearers of his holy and divine will. This morning I want to talk to you about Christ and the cross. I want to talk about Christ and the cross. One of the most cruel and most inhumane ways to die, as recorded in ancient history, is death by hanging on a cross. It is recorded as the most painful and the most degrading form of capital punishment ever known to mankind.
Right.
Its origin has its roots in ancient Assyria, where the queen Semiramis is accredited with having invented such a spectacle to display the heads of her captured foes. The Assyrians were a people who were well known for their extremely barbaric torture tactics. And originally the wooden stake that was used in the crucifixion was placed in the ground and a criminal was impaled onto that stake. Later on in history they added the crossbeam, and they used this form of capital punishment as a deterrent to others that were thinking about criminal activity. The crucifixion was designed to make the criminal a public spectacle, because the one being crucified would be hung out in the open for every passerby to see. The cross was usually placed at the gate of the city or just outside of the city walls, and it was in humiliation and shame that the one hung there would take its notice that everyone who was beholding them was looking at the one who was being crucified for a crime that they had committed. It was an indication to all of the passers-by that if they didn't comply with the laws of the land, this could very well happen to them. Yes. The Greeks and the Romans adopted this method of punishment a whole lot later in their history, because they initially deemed it too barbaric for freeborn citizens, and so they just used it for slaves. However, by the 1st century, they also began using this form of capital punishment for anyone who they considered to be an enemy of the state. It is recorded in history that the road to crucifixion was a dreadful one. For the person to be crucified was often scourged or flogged as they traveled that persecution pathway. The scourging was when they would take a whip intertwined with bits of bone, metal, and glass and other sharp objects, and they would take the whip and whip the criminal and snatch it across their flesh until they were able to rip the flesh open. Not only did they scourge them, but they also flogged them, which was an instrument that had a leather handle with leather patches that also contained intertwined in the leather bits of metal and glass and other sharp objects. So every time they would hit your back, it would gush blood and rip the flesh tissue and the muscle wide open. Many people did not even make it beyond the flogging, because the flogging and the scourging was not just used for cruelty alone, but it was also a means of hastening the death of the criminal.